Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of From the District with State Senator Suzanne Weber. Senator, how are you? You were just saying you're getting a haircut.
I'm getting a haircut today, and it's past time. Let me tell you. You always think, "Oh, I need a haircut," and then and you don't do anything about it. Then bang,
My
it's
son
down
and I
on your
do it.
shoulders.
My son and I get a haircut once a month. It's one of the things we do together. I've got 5 kids and one of them's a boy. So one of the things that we get to do together is we get to go have haircuts.
I think that's great.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Well, it's been a little over a month. Like we said, we're going to start in the interim. We try to do these once a month as opposed to once a week during the session. So you have been busy as a beaver. I know, as you always are. Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to.
Well, this week I had it's at the beginning of the week, there was the groundbreaking for the museum in Rainier.
Oh, cool.
They have been working on this for years. They have great buy-in from the community. They needed the money to be able to finish the project. And it wasn't coming forth in the long session. We were really disappointed. But in the short session, I guess all my begging, pleading paid off, because we were able to get some good funding for the coast up along Highway 30 for museums, and the museum in Rainier was one of them. Now, they have been gathering things for years. They have a really active historical society. They were given one room in City Hall. And so what they have been doing is, because they also needed office space, the museum was the outside of the room. And the people had desks and were doing work and are doing work on the inside of that. And so it was kind of an adventure to go to the museum. I went there in the winter. No, yeah, it was November, to see how they were operating, because it was imperative that they be able to start their own museum. And there's a man up there by the name of Dwayne Bernard, and I think that Dwayne has one of those tattoos that says "Born to Nag," and he he has done a really good job of it. But all of the buy-in that he has gotten from the community and from the architect and from the contractor, this is going to be a dynamite building.
I tell you, if you want to get something done with Oregon government right now, you better be born to nag.
Yes,
that's the only way you're going to. So good job, good on Dwayne for having that tenacity. Because if you are not the squeaky wheel, you are not going to get the grease.
Right. And, they gave me a picture that I've got hanging right there on the front wall in the office. And so when anybody from Ways and Means would come by, I would point to that picture and say, this is what the museum in Rainier is going to look like. And I know that Senator Girod was sick and tired of hearing me talk about it.
Well, good. Now he doesn't have to hear you talk about it, except for just how cool it looks.
Right.
Well,
something else I did on the education front is I went to Gaston and toured their school.
Oh, cool.
And they have a beautiful facility. And it was so nice to interact with the kids in the classrooms, because it's one building, it's all grades, with a common area in the middle, right in the middle of town. What else could you ask for? Of course, they've got some dreams for fields and things like that. And I'm sure they're going to get them. But it was so nice to go into the school building, meet with the superintendent and the principals, and talk with the kids and see all that they're getting accomplished. It was a really good day. I really enjoyed myself.
One of those, I really like those, the whether it's one school building and it has all grades, or it's a longer kind of extended period. when I was a little boy, we had, and you were teaching in the school district at the time too. Our schools went from K to 6.
Yes.
And by the time you got to 6th grade, you had a real ownership of that school.
Yes, you
You
did.
felt like a leader in the school community. And I think a lot of the kids in the Tillich School District right now, they have it split up where they would go. I think it's like where is it?
K1.
1, and then 2 and 3, and then 4, 5, 6. Kids aren't long enough in the school long enough to really take ownership of the community, which I think is
I think
you got to do, but
that hierarchy of responsibility is really important.
Right.
Because you were looking ahead to what the big guys were doing.
Yeah.
And you were thinking, I'm going to get to do that. And then when you got there, you were the example for the little guys.
Right.
And I think that's really important. I think that's
my kid's school is K through 8. So there are kids where you're starting, actually it's pre-K through 8. So there are kids who literally attend that school for better part of 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
So they really feel a lot of ownership in that school.
Right. Yeah. And it will also, reinforce the disappointment that so many school districts had with not getting money to be able to provide summer education.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a superintendent told me, we didn't need $100,000. We only needed $50,000 to complete our program and to be able to go forward. And they were so far down on the list, it was ridiculous. But that's what I'm hearing is, okay, so they're saying we put $30 million towards summer education. Well, we have to be able to sustain that summer education. And we have to make it so that it's equal, it's fair between rural and urban.
Right.
There are so many aspects of it that are really sad, especially for our small rural districts.
Yeah.
And, I had the meeting with the chair to say, well, how are we going to do this? What can I say to a superintendent that tells me he's 170th on the list and, he's not going to get any funds and he's mad?
Yeah. Yeah. What can he say? I mean,
well,
you can only fight so much.
We're trying to raise our scores. We're trying to get kids into school because we have so many issues with absenteeism.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're not providing that to go forward, to be able to make it happen, to make school that home place that is welcoming and kids can grow and learn.
Right. It's incredibly unfortunate. That's for sure.
Something else I did this week was the Coastal Caucus put on the economic summit.
Oh yes. Now this used to be. It's been off for a while. You had COVID, and then the people who I think the person who was like the big chief organizer retired.
Arnie Roblin.
Yeah,
Arnie Roblin was the main proponent of having that happen, and it was a multi-day affair.
Well, it was Arnie's staff. I mean, Arnie definitely retired, but Arnie's chief of staff was the person who was the leader in actually arranging it. So when Arnie retired and his chief of staff retired or just didn't come back,
right?
That's what happens,
right? And things have changed, but we were able to have one day where we addressed a lot of topics, which I can tell you what they were. At the casino, they had a wonderful facility. They had breakfast, lunch, and a reception at the end. We had really good participation. We had over 200 people there. I think we could have had more, but they were kind of late getting the invitations out.
Right. I know when I was an elected official, that was a big deal.
Yes.
A lot of people, a lot of folks on the coast, because the coast is a lot of communities that are very much the same.
Yes.
Some are a little bit bigger, some are a little bit smaller, but they all have they're all small communities, and they all have the same fundamental problems.
Yes, they do.
And so it was really a great opportunity to hear from certainly the legislators, but to hear from other city councilors, other county commissioners, to hear from other staff, and it really was a great exchange of ideas, and that it was a real bummer when it didn't come back
Right.
after Senator Roblin retired.
Yes, but we discussed it at every meeting Coastal Caucus had, I think, all this past year, is how can we do this? How can, we make it effective? What can we address? And I think, we came up with good ideas, and we made it through our first one. And I can only say that the next one, from what we've learned, will be bigger and better.
Awesome. Well, you say you had spoke about a lot of topics. Let's touch on a few of those. What were some of the big hot topics that were talked about over that day?
Housing.
I'm shocked.
You're shocked.
Shocked.
I know.
I've been my big surprise face.
I know. And the issues that go along with housing, infrastructure.
Right.
And so once we were very fortunate to have Parker Salmons from the Department of Community Development here in Tillamook. And he was one of the presenters on one of the panels that talked about issues specifically that are really pertinent to Tillamook County with sewer and water and land, because along the coast, that's one of the biggest problems we have is buildable land.
Right.
And so, he talked about that. He talked about generational housing, how we need additional housing for the elderly. And, sometimes like here, you can have a whole block of people with, good sized houses, and there's only one person living in each house.
Right.
And how, the housing supply moves through the generations. And that was very interesting.
Right.
So,
well, infrastructure continues to be a massive problem. I did see that, I don't know if it's happened yet, or they see maybe they're close to doing that, that Tillamook County was finally going to approve accessory dwelling units, ADUs, for rural areas.
yes.
The legislature passed a law saying you have to do that, but gave them some time to come up with a plan on how to do that. Tillamook County is finally doing that. And what is someone in the real estate community, that my clients, that was often a question. I really like this. Can I build another? Can I put on a little 400 square foot cabin here on the side for my mom, or for some family to come visit? And the answer was always no in these rural communities. And it really was those areas that had the land to do it.
Right. And I have talked to farmers, especially, who have been trying to build houses for their family to live within the family compound on the farm. And the permitting alone will take 1.5 years.
Right. So it's good to see that the county Tillamook County is starting to, and forgive me, Tillamook County is just what I know. I'm not familiar with what Clatsop or what Columbia or Multnomah, I do Multnomah, or
Clatsop, Columbia.
Yeah. I don't know what they've done in terms of ADUs in rural areas, but I bring it up because I saw a news story come across the wire about Tillamook County finally moving forward on that, which I'm very happy about.
Yes.
So housing, infrastructure. We were talking a little bit beforehand that Tillamook County, the infrastructure is just, and this is Tillamook County is kind of microcosm of all these little counties across on the coast. Infrastructure continues to be a massive problem.
Right. And it's also the systems development charges. Okay, you want to build, you've got to have water and sewer. You've got to be able to hook up to the city. How much do those hookups cost? We had a meeting on Tuesday to talk with the water districts and just to it was interesting to just do a survey on how much those systems development charges are to be able to hook up to the water in the sewer,
Mhm.
and how many problems are people that are delivering water, our small water districts are having, getting employees and being able to do the work to do this, having the equipment, all of that. The range was, now I can't tell you exactly the highest number, what it related to as far as how many units, but the lowest systems development charge of these folks that were at this meeting was $1,200, but the highest was 60 and above thousand.
$60,000.
Yes.
Oh God, was Portland there?
No,
Was
Portland
that-
wasn't there. It was just us, just the
Wow,
coast.
that I would say, in my experience, most of the water hookups have run around the $4,000 or $5,000 mark. So 1,200 is certainly very, very low.
So,
I've never seen 60,000. So that's
so if you're going to build, that's all that money up front before you even get
oh yeah.
anything else on the ground.
Right. And there are ways to do this. And I hope that a lot of these jurisdictions are thinking about this. But the problem is that some of these small districts, they rely on these system development charges not to develop the system, but to actually maintain the system,
The
which is not what
maintain,
it's
yeah,
meant for. We don't call them system
right.
maintenance charges, we call them system development charges. And
And you
that's a
gotta,
problem.
and you got to look at this, at these small systems
Right.
who have 15, 20, 25 people that are getting water off of it.
Hmm.
And the systems have been in the ground for over 50 years.
Right.
And so when you go to hook up something new to that, when you open up the ground, you don't know what you're going to find.
Right. I've always wondered, I hope that some of these smaller systems, and I think some of them have begun doing this. I'm hoping some of these smaller systems will begin the process of considering consolidation, so that you can have, and they kind of have functionally done that. I know the Zwald
Yes.
family created kind of a business around this idea of managing these districts, where they just had one company that managed this district and this district and this district, and I think that's very wise. Very good business model too. But when you are having to charge $15,000 or more for a hookup, not because it costs $15,000 to do the work, but because you got to pay the guy's salary on a regular basis,
Yes.
that's not developing the system. That's maintaining the system, and
Right.
that is not sustainable.
One of the things, several years ago, we had an evaluation of our water rates.
Mhm.
And when they came back with it, it was gasp worthy, because how much we should have been charging for the water that we were, selling.
Yeah.
And so, it was decided that we would raise the price incrementally over years, but it didn't put anything in the bank to be able to maintain. So
Right.
then we forgot about it, or I should say, leadership forgot about it. Or maybe it was that council voted the increases down, because one thing that is very emotional to people is when you start raising the prices of your water and your sewer.
Right.
They don't want to pay that. And,
I
I don't blame them.
don't either. I was on council when we did that, and my idea, which everybody looked at me like I had three heads, and maybe it was stupid and there's something I don't know about, was, instead of holding these water lines, these water rates flat for 15 years, and then having to come in with a 30 or 40% or more increase, and having the torches and the pitchforks coming to council meetings, why not tie those rates to the consumer price index, tie it to inflation, so that maybe that rate goes up 2%,
Yes.
or 1.5%, or 4%. And that those increases aren't going to be noticed very much. But when you do these 30, 40, 50%, or I think some places did 100, 200, 300% raises because they had to, That is very noticeable. But the dollar.
Well,
We, we have an inflation issue. We all agree on that. You can't not increase the price of the thing you're selling and think you're going
right,
to just continue to make the same amount of money. It doesn't
right.
work.
And if you go out to have any maintenance done and you need to get a loan, you have to be able to prove that you're going to be able to pay it back.
Right.
And that's going to mean a rate increase. And
Yep.
people don't understand that either.
Right. And a lot of this happened, at least as I recall, these rates were being held flat because of the recession in the mid 2000s that
Yeah.
hit. And nobody wanted to raise any rates because everybody was hurting.
Right.
So they left them where they were at for like 13 years. Well, prices in 2006 are different than they were in 2016. And that's
Yeah.
where, okay. So this is a big issue for a lot of these small water districts. We're not the
Yeah.
city of Portland developing huge, delivering water to everybody. It's real difficulty. One of the other things you did, since I think we last spoke, was you had your post-session office hours, and I think
I
you
did.
a couple of town halls as well. How did those go? How were those conversations?
Very well. I really like the way that we have done that with having the office hours.
Yeah.
Because it gives me an opportunity to meet people face to face and talk about their problems. And I did one town hall with Rep Javity up in Astoria, and that was very well received. We had about 40 people there,
Mhm.
and we talked about some really challenging subjects, not unlike what we're just talking about here. But I really appreciated everyone who made an appointment and made the effort. And yes, they gave me some challenges on doing some research, like on acid rain and things like that. And some really interesting subjects that came through.
Well, that's the great thing about doing it this way. And who I stole this idea, because this is my idea. I will say this was my idea.
It was your idea.
I stole this idea from Rep Bowman, who is now the Democrats, the majority leader in the House. He sent out, because I subscribed to his newsletter, and he sent out that he was going to start doing office hours. He wasn't doing, he might have done a town hall or two, but he was doing office hours. I thought that was a great idea. So I brought it to you, and I think it's been really well received. The people seem to really like it. And you could actually have a 30-minute conversation with people about their concerns, or they can take all 30 minutes and yell at you if they want.
Yeah, and it has happened. But
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, but that means they get 30 minutes to yell at you, not 90 seconds.
Right.
They have to stop, right?
Right.
I mean, and it's hard to yell at somebody for 30 straight minutes, right? I mean, there has to be a conversation there. It is not just voicing frustration at somebody.
Right.
You can then have a conversation. They can educate you. You can educate them, and everybody walks out at least feeling heard and feeling like maybe there's some movement that could happen.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm glad to hear those have gone well. I'm sure some legislative ideas can pop out of those as well. So
Yes,
those conversations soon.
absolutely. The other thing I got to do was go to the FFA barbecue and banquet up in
Cool.
Astoria.
Oh yes, those are fun.
Oh my goodness sakes. They've gone from, what is it? No, I may have these numbers a little skewed. They went from 180 members of FFA up to 364.
Oh, wow.
Because they have started to incorporate lower grades.
Oh, what a great idea.
And what an active, dynamic group of young people.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Plus,
I
they had a great dinner, and they had a wonderful silent auction. And I'm a sucker for the silent auction.
oh, you sure are.
Yes, but I came home with 2 cedar planters.
Oh, well, suck
Yeah,
for flowers too. So
yeah, I'm happy.
good, good. Well, it's been a really good month, I think.
I think so
A
too.
lot of really good communication with constituents, a lot of really good policy discussions. But we are wrapping up the spring and we're heading into the summer,
Yes,
which means it's parade season.
it is. It is. And I have an application here for the St. Helens Parade that came in the mail
Oh, very good.
that we're going to have to decide if I'm going to be able to do it. Because, one of the things my driver is not going to be available.
Oh,
Henry is staying in Eugene for the summer, and so I don't have a college kid to drive in a parade.
we'll
So
find somebody.
I will find somebody I know. So I've got
Nope.
kids that
Yeah.
I can press into service
Yeah.
if all else fails.
And we try to get you into as many of these as possible. And it's really great when you have things like the Tillamook
Dairy Parade.
Dairy Parade, and you've got, I think, Rainier and Renonia and Banks. They have their own special days, like
Right.
Pacific City Dory Days. But when you get into like the 4th of July, when your district, I think within your district, there's like 10 parades.
Yes.
And we generally try to get you into like 2 or 3 of them because
Yes.
we just physically cannot get you into more than that.
You're so right. This year I have a new challenge, though. I've been asked to be part of a group that's going to read the Declaration of Independence
Oh,
on the afternoon of the 4th of July in the Library Park, Maxwell Park. So, people are coming up with new and different ideas to be able to celebrate.
we're
the
going to have
4th
to
of
talk
July.
about it. We have to talk about that because
Well, when we have our meeting,
yeah.
we're going to have a whole list of parades and activities that I could potentially participate in.
Right. Well, that's going to be fun. We're excited about this. At the end of this month, the Senate is actually convening, not to
Yep.
pass any legislation, but one of the duties of the Senate is to confirm appointments by
Yes.
the governor. Much like it is in the U.S. Senate, that appointments are confirmed by the Senate. Same
Yes.
thing here in Oregon.
The list has come out, and there are some people on there from our district.
Right. Yep.
And so the meeting, the Senate will be convened, I believe, on the 31st of the month.
I believe so. Yeah, it's it's kind of them to do that on a Friday.
Yeah. Right.
So,
But it's interesting because, at about the same time, we're having Ledge Days.
Yep.
So that's coming up. And
that's probably why. I think that may be the week.
I think it's
Ledge-
Friday morning of Ledge Days. But I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
positive.
so
I'm not positive.
Legislative days, the time the legislature comes together and here's reports from agencies, discusses, get some information that may be used in future legislation next year, stuff like that.
Right. And we've also got some important meetings other than our committee meetings that we schedule because we are going to be in the Valley for that time.
Mhm.
And so lobby and people who have some issues where we need to gather a big group of people and not have a Zoom meeting, we can do that. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, the 21st is the big day, the primary election.
Yep.
And I just want to encourage everybody to get their vote in because, if you don't vote, you really can't complain.
Right. And remember, you need to get if you're mailing your ballot, you need to have it postmarked by the 21st. It doesn't have to be in by the 21st, but you have to have it postmarked. for the
Postmarked,
21st.
yes.
But
And-
I tell you, just get it in by the 21st. I don't, not that I distrust my dear friends at the United States Postal Service, but just there are a bunch of drop boxes you can drop it off in. You can track your ballots, but just get it in.
Exactly.
As someone who's run campaigns, people who will say they want to vote on election day, the second that I have, as a campaign manager, the second that I have gotten notice that you have voted, you go off my list. That is money that I'm not going to spend money to reach you. So if you are sick of getting the calls, getting the mail,
yes,
getting the text messages,
take care of it.
Vote. Because as soon as you do that, you are off the list. Now there may be some residual stuff that goes in because you drop the mail, and then it's 3 days later usually before it comes out, 2 to 3 days later, so you'll get it for a few more days, but it'll stop. That's why I always vote as soon as I got my ballot.
Yes.
So,
and speaking of the post office,
yes,
the post office in Gerhart will continue as it is.
Yes.
New contract. Yeah, it's not that we don't have issues that we're working on in other post offices within the district. Post offices are kind of getting a bad rap about some things, but I guess it goes along with employment and family leave and every other thing that needs to be fixed or tweaked in order to get back to being totally productive and predictable.
Right. Well, Senator, anything else before we wrap up?
I think we've done it. It sure is nice to talk with you.
It's always enjoyable to talk to you, Senator. I think our next conversation will probably be early next month.
Yes.
So we'll be able to report back from legislative days and how things went there. And
yes.
Happy Mother's Day, Senator. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Please give that wish to your wife also, now that, we have 5 little ones.
Yes.
Oh, just think, she's going to, at one point in time, be getting 5 little cards from little people.
Yes.
They're the most wonderful things ever.
Yeah. We've just figured that if I can't beat my political enemies, I'll just outbreed them.
But you make such beautiful children.
I don't know where they get it. I think they look like their mother. Let's be all thankful for that. All right. Well, have a wonderful, happy Mother's Day weekend, Senator.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you next month. And thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time.
And happy Mother's Day, mothers.
Happy Mother's Day to all you moms.
Yes. Thank you.